Welcome back to Champion News Talk Radio, brought to you by championnews.net. This is Carol Parisi. Our founder, Jack Roeser, and myself have Erin Raasch with us today with Common Core, talking about Common Core standards. And Erin, you said it's already implemented. Does this money go to unions? Is a lot of this money going to unions?
Not directly. You know, of course, the unions are very embedded in our school system. However, there seems to be a lot of now very, of course, lucrative new positions, administrative bureaucrats here, there, and everywhere, and all these new sort of education companies merging and hiring their buddies. So, of course, it's just pumping a lot of money in the system as a whole. And, of course, the unions do benefit when that happens. When you say Illinois has it, one of the things that I think anyone, regardless of their political positions, should be concerned about is that the stealth manner in which Common Core was passed, actually it wasn't passed, it was just put upon us. And so when you hear...
In other words, this was regulated in.
Well, it's kind of interesting when you hear people who are proponents of Common Core talk, they say, what are you talking about? You're crazy. This is not a federal government program. Technically, they are correct. It was actually developed by some consortiums of governors, et cetera. And what happened was that the cash-starved states were bribed into taking this. What happened is in the stimulus bill, which, of course, we're tired of talking about all the horrible things that came in via the stimulus bill. This is one of them. They had $4.35 billion as an executive earmark into the Department of Education. And what happened is the Department of Education used that money for a competition for Race to the Top funds. And what they did is said, hey, Illinois, broke Illinois, here's all this money. You can take this money and we'll waive your standards under No Child Left Behind. We'll provide waivers, meaning you don't lose money for all your loser schools if you take Common Core. So it was reported that we got waivers from the standards that our schools were supposed to uphold in the old No Child Left Behind. I remember seeing that in the papers, and I remember seeing that we were winning grants of Race to the Top money to help all the poor children. But what they didn't tell us is that there was a string attached saying, oh, and by the way, you got Common Core now.
But see, Illinois is desperate.
Let's stop here a moment. These people are experts at putting in programs with fancy names. Let's pick one that they put a lot of money in, tremendous money, and they're still pushing it. And the idiots that Obama's got, his czars, are still pushing this crap on Head Start. Well, we've amply proven that that doesn't do any good, but it sure as hell costs a lot of money.
Yep.
Yeah, Head Start.
That's been a big loser for years, that has not done what it's supposed to do. Now, Jack, let me ask you a question. You're a businessman.
Yeah.
Okay? You go ahead and you set an initiative, and you let it go for 3-4 years, and it keeps losing you money, losing you money. Do you keep pouring good money after bad, or do you cut it off and get innovative and do something different as a businessman?
You have customers. If you make lousy automobiles that rust out, the customers quit buying them. And that's what happened to our automobile business, is that those guys in Detroit got it all figured out that if they didn't coat the inside of the door panels and such, then in 5 years the water would make the bottom of your door rust out. You'd need a new car. The Japanese weren't gulled in with that. And so what happened in Japan after World War II, and I well know this because I've been through Japanese plants at the time us soldiers went in and took over. And they were making Japanese toys that didn't work, and their systems weren't good. Their big machines were sitting on a concrete block in a factory with dirt floors. I personally have seen that. But the smart guy was General MacArthur, and he brought Dr. Deming over to teach the Japanese the techniques that he had pioneered with AT&T. It happens when I got out of college without knowing it, and I'd taken a statistics course at Illinois, As an engineer, I did. And, but I went into an AT&T manufacturing plant. That was the plant that Dr. Deming had left to go to Japan. And all of his stuff was in there. The statistical quality control that produced the fantastically high quality that was typical of AT&T telephones. Deming thought that America would never come up to these quality standards, but he brought Japan up to it, and they forced the guys with the force of the market, these buckets of rust that came out of Detroit, and they may have been fast in the beginning and sexy and all that, but they didn't last. And they assured the market was there because those things wouldn't last. So they had to compete, and now your cars don't rust out. Listen, I've designed stuff for airplanes for the last 50 years and more. And I'll tell you, airplanes don't rust out. And 60 and 70 years ago, they didn't rust out. We knew everything there was to be done about keeping things from rusting out. And, but our automobile industry never picked up that knowledge until the Japanese forced us. If we were to stay in the market, they forced us. The market forced us to make better automobiles.
So how come...
The same thing applies to education.
Exactly. Why is our education system keep putting money into the No Child Left Behind, which they're doing Common Core, and what's that? What was the Head Start?
Head Start.
That's not doing anything.
Right, and they had new math. Remember that?
Yeah, I'm a product of new math.
Right. It's always something.
It's awful.
It's a self-generating industry where they keep turning over these new theories, these new sets of materials. A lot of them hit the market untested, like Common Core, completely untested, especially these teaching methods. Like I said, a lot of the people who probably worked on this with the best intentions refuse to sign off on it because it is so untested, so untraditional, so unknown.
What kind of teaching methods are they going to be doing?
For example, in reading, I guess kind of the overall intent is that they are trying to create a curriculum that produces people who, I must mention that the big funder of this is Bill Gates, for the Bill Gates and Melinda Foundation. And they want people to come out of school ready to work in what they think the new jobs will be. So, for example, in reading, the examples are reading government documents and technical documents instead of, for example, literature.
We're getting rid of our classics.
Right. Cursive is not required under Common Core, and spelling is not required under Common Core, which is how I discovered Common Core, because they are not teaching my son to spell. It's not emphasized. My teacher told me that, and I will add, almost tearfully told me that. I'm teaching my child to spell at home. Because according to Bill Gates, they
win
said...
all of the prizes in spelling.
Right. That's because Bill Gates believes that with spell check. Why do you need the spell? Because he has spell check with his Microsoft computers. Right. Well, I'm sorry, my kid's going to learn how to spell, and my kid's going to learn how to write. Because he's not going to be on his Microsoft computer every second of every day. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have a literate child, whether it's required by Common Core or not. And that's what started my fear about Common Core.
You can't even convey ideas with any accuracy unless you can spell.
That's correct.
There's 3 ways to spell there. And you can do that in one sentence if you want.
Right.
But you've got to be using words that have the proper meaning for the thoughts you're conveying. And when you get into more sophisticated things, you have to be careful about what is being said. You don't want to get into the trickery, like the communists changed the meaning of words, like peace meant cessation of opposition. That's a nice thing. Look at what they're doing with the word tolerance today. We're supposed to tolerate all kinds of behaviors that we normally would say, get away from me, you creep. I don't like the way you smell or the way you sound or whatever. But now that'd be intolerant, and you must be tolerant of them. Look what they've done to our language. People have forgotten that you can't be tolerant about something unless you dislike it.
Right.
You have to have an adverse opinion about what they're doing, whether it's loudmouth or sex or whatever it is. You know, if you got an adverse opinion, and then you're supposed to be tolerant of it, and that means you can't say anything about it.
We're going to hear more from Erin when we come back after the break. More on Common Core.